Tuesday, September 10th, and I am at the Rock Lake Access in Algonquin Park. I'm joined by Mason, and we are heading for 2 nights into the backcountry, putting in at Rock, proceeding through Penn, and then ending up for the night at Clydegale Lake. So that's the plan. There's just a couple of portages between here and there, and I wanted to give Mason a couple of small portages to kind of cut his teeth on as he gets his knee back up to shape post-surgery. And I think each portage is around 300 meters. I'll be double carrying, and I don't think they're too difficult. So I think that'll be a good starter trip for him to get back on his knees or back on his feet after his knee surgery. So I'm going to put in now and start making my way down Rock Lake. Mason and I have just launched at Rock Lake, and the put-in has us launching into sort of a narrow river. And I presume this river will open up shortly into Rock Lake proper, but until then it's just a quiet, breezeless paddle with a little bit of bird chirping and a lot of direct sun. I think we have high pressure for the next 3 or 4 days, so there's no rain in the forecast. And hopefully high pressure also means low winds, because I'm paddling solo and I'm paddling directly into the wind, at least for today. Beautiful day to be on the water. From here I can see where the river opens up into Rock Lake proper. Good morning. Any luck? All right. Well, this is pretty neat. I just passed a ranger cabin on the shore of Rock Lake, and I'm pretty excited to drive past it, paddle past it, because the last time I was in this area, myself and Vivian were hiking Booth's Rock Trail. And at the top of this trail, you can get a crystal clear look of that tiny little white speck of a cabin in the distance. And when we were here in the fall, or the spring rather, and I was filming out over Rock Lake, I remember looking at that tiny little white cabin and thinking to myself, gosh, I wonder what that looks like up close. Anyway, I just paddled past it and checked it out. Lots of activity appears to be going on there. Some drilling and sawing and whatever, so I guess there's some maintenance happening. But I've now passed that, and I am continuing further south on Rock Lake with a beautiful view of the Booth's Rock Trail ridge to my left. It looks like Rock Lake actually has quite a few cottages on it. I guess this must be a legacy lake of some kind. It's also a rumble lake, which means motors are allowed up to a certain horsepower. I'm not sure how much. But not a lot of boats this morning, just a couple that I saw on the way in. As I make my way down Rock Lake, I can see early evidence of colors changing. Just little splashes of red here and there in amongst the green, and some yellow. Not as punchy as the red, but yellow developing. I've also seen a couple other canoeists on the way in, also out enjoying this incredible spell of high pressure. I see the portage into Penn is about 200 meters ahead. I can see people unloading and others about to load. Portage dead ahead. But first, let's check out the falls, or the rapids. Wow, what a beautiful little bay. Well, that was a lovely set of rapids, but now it's time to portage. Just finished my first carry from Rock Lake to Penn Lake. 375 meters, a bit of elevation, some mud, nothing terrible. And I'm about to go back for my second load. And then we'll be putting into Penn Lake and heading to the southern terminus of that before heading into Clydegale. Oh, the day's starting to heat up and the wind is also starting to pick up, but it might be in my favor once I hit the next lake. Fingers crossed. Okay, muddy section ahead. Okay, go on, don't drink out of the water. There's a path that leads off to the side on the Penn Lake portage, and I have a feeling it leads to a view of the rapids, which I'm walking down now to go check out and see if there's anything to be seen down here. Oh, it looks pretty. Oh, isn't that pretty? Let's get a closer look. Portage from Penn Lake is complete, and I'm now making my way down lake to the portage leading to Clydegale. As I head south on Penn, it looks like there's a bit of a pinch point ahead. Appears to be a line of boulders that completely cross these narrows. I'm assuming there's a way through, and the placement of these boulders looks man-made, so maybe they put it there to keep motorboats from heading down the lake, I'm not sure. But it looks like there might be a little spot to squeeze through. I believe I see an opening ahead, wide enough for a canoe. Well, well, an opening barely wide enough for a canoe. But it doesn't need to be any wider, does it? Wow, with an inch to spare. And lots of painted rocks. Okay. Wow. Penn Lake, you are a beauty. Well, a breeze has come up as I make my way down Penn Lake. And it's not quite a breeze from the side. It's sort of from the side and from the back. So it's not impeding my progress, that's for sure. And if the waves are any indication of the wind direction, I should be in the lee of this wind just as soon as I round this next point. About 100 meters out from the portage into Clydegale. I can hear the rapids ahead. I don't see a portage sign. Could be around that fallen tree ahead. Oh, here it is. It's on River Right. Oh, that's great. I've just completed the portage from Penn into Clydegale, and not a difficult portage, somewhat inclined, about 295 meters, but along the way, what a gorgeous set of rapids, just sun-splashed in certain spots, shady in others. Just sort of a fairy tale brook, really. Spent some time at the side of the stream there, just photographing some different whirlpools and little tiny waterfalls. But now it's time to get serious and make it to the campsite. It's probably around 2 o'clock now. I left the put-in around 10ish, so it's been about 4 hours to get to the mouth of Clydegale Lake. And that includes a lot of time filming and chit-chatting along the way. But the winds were also favorable. Anyway, I'm hoping to get one of the sites close to the portage because I understand that there's marshy areas nearby and there might be the chance of wildlife sighting. So hopefully it's a short paddle to the site of my choice. Mason and I are going to jump in the canoe and make our way now. Okay, let's go. Well, Clydegale Lake is just as beautiful as Penn and Rock Lakes. Maybe a bit more of a swampy feeling where I am now. There's what looks like a grassy, swampy area to my right, a little bay tucked in over there, and some of these other nooks and crannies could be a good spot to see moose. So hopefully one of the 2 campsites ahead are available so I can have some proximity to what I hope will be wildlife viewing areas. And wow, this grassland off to the right here, all the reds are just starting to come out. Wow. I think I could be the only person on Clydegale today. Just, you have that solitary feeling here. And I just don't see any sign of anybody else. Here is a site dead ahead, but I did not see this beach on my first pass. I think this is going to be my campsite for the night. It didn't look like much from the water, and the takeout looked very steep. But when I came around the side, I found this incredible sandy beach. And then, once I walked back into the forest, just an enormous amount of cleared space. And the campsite itself is at the top of this hill. And this is why initially I passed this campsite and went to one further down the lake that had an even steeper takeout. But then I found that beach, and this fire pit up here looks magnificent. Oh my goodness. Yep. I do believe I'll be staying at this campsite tonight and tomorrow night. I've been exploring around at this campsite, and in fact when I got here I just unloaded the boat and left everything in a pile and just grabbed my camera and started walking around. The light's just coming through the trees in such a way that it sort of catches stumps or mosses. It just completely paints them in light, and there's so much shadow around the light. I just thought I'd try to capture some of those. And I'm a real sucker for stumps. I mean, if it's been sawed or cut or broken or chewed by a beaver, my camera lens just seems to find it. And the best part of all this is you walk through the woods and you'll see something great, but there won't be any light, and you'll wander around and come back 5 minutes later and suddenly the light's right there. And the next step for me is to be setting up camp and getting tent ready. It's pretty much golden hour now, around 6:30, approaching 7 o'clock. Don't have much of an appetite, but I have to cook my steak before it gets too dark. I've already built the fire. I just need to light it up and toss the steak on. But for the past half hour, I've just been sitting, staring out over this lake and listening to the complete silence except for the red squirrels and the odd bird splashing in the water. Even the air temperature's perfect. It's just one of those moments where you just sit, and that's what I've been doing, and it's been wonderful. So I think I'm going to get back to that until my stomach grumbles loud enough to motivate me to action. think that's going to be a wrap for me for today. I mean, it's not much past 8 o'clock, and it's already not pitch black, but incredibly dark out. Dark enough that I'll need a flashlight to find my tent. And if it wasn't for this fire, I'd be sitting in almost complete darkness. But it's been a great first day, and, I left the city at 4:30 this morning, and then paddled across those 2 lakes, 2 portages. Weren't difficult, but the heat, towards the end of the day and the wind, started to take its toll. And then once I got settled here, solo camping, you got to do everything yourself, so it's twice as much work. But not complaining, and have had a great afternoon and evening here, sitting around by the fire, and I think Mason has too. He's basically sitting on my lap right now. I think he's trying to tell me it's time to go to bed. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for me for tonight. I'm going to hit the hay early and get up early tomorrow and make the most of the day. Thanks for coming along on day 1, and hope to see you on day 2. Good morning from day 2 on Clydegale Lake. And this morning I was up around 6 a.m. or so. And it must be these cooler mornings that's causing all the mist to form over the lakes. But to get up and feel like you're in Lord of the Rings is pretty fun. Anyway, captured some shots this morning of the mist just at the cut at the end of the lake. And it was just changing every 30 seconds. Just magnificent to watch. It was like a living thing evaporating and moving around the lake. Very cool. Anyway, gonna get into my coffee now and enjoy some of this morning feeling, and then gonna work on getting Mason fed and start making plans for the day. Not sure what the day's gonna hold, but I think it's gonna be sunny and cloudless and hot and beautiful, so I'm just gearing up for that excitement. Anyway, gonna go find a spot to look out on the lake and just take it easy until I feel like making some breakfast. Well, how exciting was that? I literally just sat down to eat my breakfast, enjoying the dead calm and quiet of this lake, when I hear a grumble that turns into a roar, and I look up from where I'm sitting, just down lake, which is probably like less than a kilometer's worth of like viewing distance. And there is an enormous plane, just like feet off the water, it seems, tearing across the lake. I mean, I heard it when I saw it. It just appeared out of nowhere. And I fumbled with my camera and tried to get a shot, but I've been shooting back in the woods here, and the settings were all for low light. I'm fumbling, and a plane flies overhead, and I'm cursing. And then there's another plane right behind it. And behind it, I don't mean like behind it, I mean like 2 seconds behind it. And it also appeared like speck of dust to like plane in your face. Anyway, I got lucky. I think I caught it. If I did, you'll see it right now. Oh my goodness, it came out of nowhere, and like it freaked me out. I was making noise. I was like, wow, I got the shot. And there's a guy in the canoe, Dustin. Dustin's in the canoe, and he's like, holy shit, did you see that? I'm like, where did those come from? He's like, I don't know. So it was a really exciting moment, and nice to share it with someone, even though I didn't know he was there, and I don't think he knew I was here until we finished yelling at the plane. But wow, what an exciting event. You know, you're waiting around for a moose, and instead, CF Borden pays you a visit. You know, it's, you never know what you're gonna get. All right, well, it's been a comparatively quiet afternoon at the campsite. Once that bomber passed over, I think it scared all the moose away I was supposed to see. So I'm not sure if I'll have any luck wildlife spotting later tonight. But that didn't stop me from having conversations with 2 parties of canoeists as they passed through. 3 parties actually made their way south into Clydegale Lake, either doing day trips, but I don't believe anyone else was camping here. And besides that, I've just been keeping an eye out on these key possible moose sighting areas in the marshy area to my west, as well as the marshy area on the east shore. They look just like prime moose territory, so hopefully something will appear later tonight. But it's 5:30 now, so it's time for me to think about dinner and get Mason fed. It'll be dark probably around 7:30 or 8 o'clock, so I've only got a couple hours of daylight left to get sorted. So that's what's on the list, and that's what's happening now. Well, darkness certainly came on quickly tonight. I hardly had time to finish my dinner before all of a sudden shadows were everywhere. Some light still down by the lake, but up around camp it was just getting dark fast. So scrambled to find my headlamp and got everything tidied up. The goal is to make a quick getaway tomorrow and get up early, increase my chance of seeing wildlife, and reduce my chance of being troubled by winds on my way back. So right now I'm just going to enjoy a cup of grape juice around the campfire, stay up as late as I can, and then hit the tent, get an early start tomorrow. Good morning from day 3, and it's around 6:45 right now, and I've been up for almost an hour. When I did get up, it was pitch black outside. I mean, you couldn't have seen a thing without the headlamp. Mason was still tired, so I left him in the tent, and I came up to the cooking area here and made myself a coffee and just took in the sounds of the lake. And I was greeted this morning by about a half dozen or so mergansers that appeared out of nowhere, making all kinds of noise, squawking and flipping around in the water, feeding, I guess. So enjoyed some time with them until they got spooked and started down lake. But it is time to pack up and get going. So once this coffee's done, I'm going to get some water on for oatmeal and tear down the tent and pack everything up inside, head out on the water. The goal is to be on the water by about 8 o'clock. That gives me an hour and 15 minutes, which is plenty. And then hopefully a nice windless paddle back to the put-in. So that's the plan. And I better get started on it because tents don't pack themselves up. Yes, buddy. Canoe's all packed and it's time for me to push off. Not quite 8 a.m. yet, but the lake is glassily calm. And were it not for the logging operations going on in the background, you'd just swear you were in heaven. But this has been a really fun trip. It was just a short there and back, but I wanted to get Mason out on a couple of shorter portages and see how he fared. And he did amazing. He did amazing on the portages, and we did all types of hikes at the campsite here, back into the woods, looking out on the moose ponds. And I mean, he just thrived this whole trip, which just brings me so much joy. Anyway, it is now time to reverse course and paddle back from where I came. So thanks so much for coming along. We'll see you on the next one.